Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial, the goals, the learning goals, the things that you will learn here are the following. In the app pages on your iPad, you'll learn to create a document, uh, create a border or an outline of your magnet, uh, add a graphic, and add some text. So first thing I'm going to do is find my Pages app. Here it is on the last app on this page. And when I open it up, yours will look a little different because if you haven't used it before, you won't have any recent documents, but you can see some of the designs that I have in there. Some of these are the designs that I showed you pictures of, actual created designs, but I'm going to create a new one. So up in the top corner, you'll see that plus mark. I'm going to hit that plus, and I'm going to find down, scrolling down, under basic, I'm going to choose blank. So it doesn't really matter which blank one you choose, but I'm going to choose this first blank document. And I'll get rid of my keyboard here so you can kind of see what's going on. You can zoom out, you can see that this is like a full piece of paper. And we don't need that whole document because our magnets are going to be about 2 inches by 2 inches, and right now this is like 8.5 inches by 11 inches. So the first thing we're going to do is set up our document. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rename it so that all my documents aren't just called like blank 1, blank 2, things like that. And you'll know what it is and I'll know what it is. So you can put your name. I'm going to put my name, first initial, and then I'm going to put magnet design 1. You're going to make multiple designs. This can be your first design. But we're going to rename it so that we know what it is when we look for it later on. All right, so then the next thing I need to do is set up the document. So in the top corner, you'll see a circle with 3 dots up in those options up on the top right. So I'm going to choose that, and I get a bunch of different options here, and I'm going to choose Document Setup. I'm going to do a few things here. I'm going to change the paper size. We're not really using paper when we do this. You'll be using wood or plastic. But I'm going to do a custom size. And I'm going to change the dimensions to 2.5 and 2.5 inches. So 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches is the size of the document that we'll work with. So when I finish that, I'll hit done. And then there's a few more things I'm going to do here before I exit out of the document setup. We don't need any headers or footers, so I'm going to turn those switches off. Now I don't need to do anything else here, so I'm going to exit out of here by clicking the back arrow or just clicking on the document somewhere. So you can see now that we just have a smaller square document, and that's what we're going to put all our graphics on to design our magnet. The first thing that we're going to add is a border or an outline, and this is what will get cut by the laser engraver to create the outside shape of your magnet. So I hit the plus mark there, and you'll notice a bunch of options here. In a different tutorial I'm going to go more in depth on how to use some different options, but we're going to use this option here, which is the shapes and the graphics that are built into the app. And there's a ton, there's hundreds and hundreds of different graphics that we can choose from. So there's a lot of options there, but I will teach you how to get other graphics into the program if you want to try to engrave something else. But you have plenty of options here. The first thing we're going to do is just add a basic shape. So when you scroll back and forth across the top, go all the way to the left, and we do basic, and we're just going to keep it simple for this first tutorial, and I'm just going to choose a circle. If you want to choose one of those other shapes, that's up to you. You can experiment around with this, but for the tutorial I'm going to do a circle. Like I said, if you want to choose a different shape, choose a basic shape, and I'll talk about why I want you to do that in a minute. All right, so we're going to need to change a couple of things to make this an outline. So up at the top where all those icons are, you'll see there's a paintbrush. And when you click the paintbrush, it'll give you some options. So it's giving me options for the circle, and you can tell that because the circle that I added is selected. So these settings are very important for the laser engraver so that it does exactly what we want it to. I'll go back there. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the fill. So I'm going to click on that fill and that black color. I'm going to change it to no fill. Now if somehow you get mixed up and you're not sure where you are in here, that no fill option is the last option on that setting. All right, so you can see what it did is it took and changed the black to no fill. Notice that there is white as well, and there is a difference here. The no fill is transparent, you can see through it. But if you chose white, that could end up on top of your graphics, and then it might not work. So you want no fill, and that's represented with that red line through that rectangle there. We want to turn a border on, and the reason the border is important is it is the information the laser engraver uses in order to know what to cut out. So this is an important step in terms of setting a couple of things. The main thing is the color. So I clicked color there, and I'm going to go back here and I'm going to choose the red one that's like close to the bottom but not the very bottom. So second from the bottom, red. I'm going to choose that, and the laser engraver takes that information, it sees red, and it knows that it should cut that area. So this magnet here will be a circle because it'll cut around the red line. All right, we're not going to change anything else here. We want the width to stay at 1 point or 1 pt. Then I'm going to exit out of that. So that's the first thing that we're going to add is the outline or the cutout shape. If you wanted to try a different kind of shape, like a star or a different type of polygon or a rectangle or a square, that's up to you. And in a different tutorial, I'll tell you how to get a little bit more advanced with knowing what will cut out and what won't. But for now, let's keep it simple. All right. The other things that we can do with this, it's probably good where it's at, but if you needed to, you could try to change the size of this, but right now it's about 2 inches by 2 inches, which is a good size for our magnet. So I'm just going to keep it right there in the center of our document. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is add a graphic. So I'm going to go back to that plus icon at the top. But this time I'm going to go scroll through here. I've already picked one out, but you can explore and see if there's something that you like. And in this time in our lives, wearing a mask is part of our daily lives. So I saw this graphic and I thought, I'm going to choose that because I want to communicate wearing masks, protecting yourselves and others in this magnet design. You can choose something else. In fact, I encourage it that you're picking out something different so that your design is original. So you make your own, but you can just follow the same steps I'm doing here. So I added my graphic, and I'm going to keep that fill of the graphic black and white. And the reason is that the laser engraver will see any black color or any of the color black, and it will engrave that. So it won't cut that out. The laser just burns across that graphic. So that's going to be the engraving part. I'm going to add one more thing to this, which is text. So I'm going to hit the plus again, and I'm going to go all the way back here to basic. And you'll see at the very top there's an option for text. Now it plopped my text right up on top of my graphic. I'm going to move it. I'm going to resize this a little bit so that it's kind of centered. And you can see that yellow line show up to show that it's centered. And then I'm going to change some things here. So I highlighted my text by just tapping it twice. I was trying to get rid of my keyboard. And I'm going to change some properties to the text. So to do that, just like you did when you selected other objects, you're going to select the paintbrush at the top of the screen, and it gives me a bunch of options. Now I'll hide my keyboard so we can see all of these. The first thing I'm going to do is choose a font. So see where it says font, and right now it says Helvetica Neue. I'm going to change that. I've already picked one out, so you didn't have to wait for me to scroll through all of these. I like this Rockwell one. I think it communicates what I'm trying to do pretty well here. Now I clicked out of there too soon. I'm going to go back to that because there's one other setting that I wanted to do, and that is I want to center my text. So I click that second option there for centering the text so it all lines up in the middle. And then I'm not going to change anything else here. I like the size of it, but you can experiment around with this on your own. So let me go back to this, and now I'm going to type my message when I'm going to communicate here. Is to protect yourself, and now I know you can't see it because it went out of that box, but I'll show you in a second. Hopefully I'm spelling everything correctly. Alright, so I typed more than what would fit in that box, so I'm going to resize this so it all fits. And then I'll kind of play around here a little bit to see if I can get it all to fit on there. If it didn't, I'd have to go back and change the size of the font. And you're probably familiar with how to do this from using other programs and changing font size or text box size or things like that. So like a lot of programs, the best way to learn it is to just get into it and experiment some. All right, now that's my design. I had already gone through all of this before this video, so you wouldn't watch me stumble through and pick fonts and things like that. So you probably will take a bit longer to make choices about your design or experiment and play around with it, which is cool. That's good. You should be doing that. But when you're finished with your design, this is your first design, it may or may not be the one that you choose for your actual laser engraved magnet. Hopefully you'll develop a few more designs and get better at the software and choose something else, but this could be it. It's an option. We need to export this. And so to do that, I'm going to go back to those three dot menus up at the top, and I'm going to choose Export. And the kind of document that we want is the first one, a PDF document. And now it gives me some options. What do I want to do with this? Where do I want to send it? And I'm going to recommend that you put it in your Google Drive. So I'm going to hit Drive, and I'm going to upload it there. And then I'll be able to find it in my Google Drive, and I'll be able to submit this to Schoology from my Google Drive. So I know where it's at. It's in my Google Drive, and I know what it's called. It's the title there, which on mine is Jay Gullikson Magnet Design 1. And I'll post a different video about how you can submit that to Schoology. Make sure to like and subscribe.